Westy. West. Let me get that in there real quick. Just so y'all know who we going for in the playoffs. We won one, split it up in the season. We taking that shit back to LA. About to get another 2 over there. Maybe one goes back over there in Denver. And we're gonna take it home. But that's some other shit. That's some other talk. But what's good, fam? You know what it is. Wes. We back up in this bitch. So hope y'all and your family had a good Easter this past weekend. I was gonna do this video last week, but I had a lot of stuff I had to catch up on as far as music wise. I needed to do verses. I'm still backed up. I was supposed to drop a single last week with the homie Rico Stamps, and then we had to prolong that. Might have to prolong it again. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to release it this Friday, but I gotta see what's gonna go on with that. I'm not sure if my platform is gonna allow me to release it with just the little bit amount of days that's left, but before the weekend. But yeah, so I got some dope shit coming, man. If you follow me on Instagram, the West 1987, that's usually TikTok and everything else too. But IG's my place to go, man. That's the place where I go and do a lot of my shit. I do a lot of like art stuff too, so I've been trying to get on my art shit over there, do my thing, push that shit out too at the same time. I'm actually, doing my clothing. I did this shit. I created this shit myself right here, Ella Weston. You know what I mean? That Aztec shit. Hit me up in the line, man. Y'all fucking with my shit. I got them all day. I got sizes from small all the way up to 3X. Shit, you 4, 5, 6, we can do something. So, as long as they got your size somewhere and I can get the shirt, I can do whatever you want. So, just holla at me, man. I got these all day. Design, logo, any kind of shit like that. If I can bust it out, give me details and I can do it though, we can work something out as far as that too. Follow my graphic page. It's TEEDUBGFX at TEEDUBGFX on IG. And you'll see all my shit on there. So yeah, man, we just been fucking, trying to get that grind in over here. And it's about to be summer coming soon. Just got the new AC. Motherfucker, that shit gonna be rocking 14,000 BTU, it's gonna come into play, man. So I've always had hand-me-down portables, but now I got myself a G one, a brand new one, you know what I mean? You remember all those times when you used to get computers from the family, and you would always hand-me-downs when they got the new one, and you're like, damn, I'm always like 5 to 10 years behind. But, yeah. I believe the last breakdown I did was the song Tales from the West. The one before that was the album drop, and, yeah, man, I just kind of got into the whole beginning process of how that song came about, how I met the homie Hectic, how I met the homie Low Key, and kind of just gave you a rundown and all that shit. But this week, I was actually thinking, like, what I could break down, and this might be a topic I touched on a couple of times already, but I wanted to break down one of the first times I got into a booth, how the whole recording shit started and all that shit. Pretty much how I even started rapping, and, somebody like me even started to rap, especially in my family, at the time when I was growing up, there was nobody fucking doing music like that, you know what I mean? I had heard that I had aunts and uncles that would sing and play instruments and stuff like that, but that's about it. As far as like rapping and shit, I didn't know anybody. The only person I knew that would be rapping would be my pops, doing, shout out to the homie Jack Ellen. He just dropped some shit where he was talking about, on one of his songs about the Rapper's Delight, and yeah, that was my pops, man. He would put on Rapper's Delight, and he'll do the whole fucking song right there. We would watch it on TV and shit. Pops used to always bump that shit, dog, and we used to just sing the song back and forth to each other, you know what I mean, or rap it back and forth, and good times, man. So, that was the only person I ever seen, growing up, rapping and fucking around. I'd always have a mic. My dad used to love to do the thing, man. That fool, he was not ashamed, no scared bone in his body, man. You give him a mic, that fool rock a party for a whole, as long as you let him. So, I think that's where it came in, We're just going to dive right into it. But before we dive into it, 5 minutes into this video, you already know what we do over here. So, if you got your best smoke, you got a blunt roll, you got that bomb shit you just picked up from the clinic and you've been waiting all day to fucking light that shit up, get that shit, pack it, roll it, or just get your motherfucking lighter. And let's just get straight to it. You know what it is, man. This smoke sets with your boy West. Let's get it in run time.
I roll my blunts fat as fuck like a Cuban on me. And only kush in my lungs, that be mandatory. Roll an 8, so it's nothing that I smoke an ounce. I smoke a pound in a week if I'm by myself. I used to do a switch and now I'm rolling backwards. Loose leaves are cool, but I love to break a backwood. True stoners never mix the bud with anything. If I got a .3, I put it into gravity.
Alright, so we got that shit out the way. And you trying to take too many puffs, you know what I mean? Because I've been watching the last couple of videos, my eyes be slanted. I look like I'm sleep talking and shit. You know what I mean? I can't be getting too faded or I lose track and I start forgetting my memory and shit. But yeah, before that shit happens, let's get right into this motherfucking shit. So yeah, you know, growing up as a kid, you know, I used to see my pops doing the rap shit, fucking around, you know, just with families, so fucking... he used to show me all the, you know, I grew up in a Chicano family, dog, you know, so like when I grew up, you know, my dad was real heavy into the lowrider shit. We used to go to the lowrider super shows when I was younger in the early 90s, when they were at the LA Coliseum. I got to see Kid Frost. I got to see Ice Cube, West Side Connection back in the day, man. That's another story in itself, man, but I'm going to keep that for another breakdown. The first time I seen Ice Cube and West Side Connection, and, when they came out with Bow Down, man, fuck, man, you talk about an era and the year and the place. I mean, just think about it. LA Coliseum, 95, 96. Mexican prime time for fucking the gang era in LA, you know, at the LA Coliseum, Lowrider Super Show. And Ice Cube comes out and he does, throw your neighborhood in the air if you don't care. Man, that was, I was like, damn, it was crazy. I was with my pops. I remember my brother and his homie were right there, way down in the fucking ground, like over there, like where all the action was. And I was just like, damn, especially when he said, throw your neighborhood in the air, you just seen all kinds of shit in the air. You could, all kinds of motherfuckers. It was hood central. You know what I mean? If you remember them times, I mean, it's crazy. Think about it now, you know, I feel like an old ass now I'm telling you this shit, and I guess maybe I am getting them old like that, but I was a kid. I was probably like 7, 8, no, I was like 8 or 9, 10, something like that. If you think back, yeah, probably like 10 years old. And yeah, man, those are some crazy times. I could tell you some stories about them times. I was lucky enough to go with three years in a row, man. And shout out to the Rollers Only, Just for Looks, and Rapture Car Club. Those were the 3 car clubs that I remember I went year after year after year to the Super Show. And then after that, they moved it to Vegas or some shit. But LA Coliseums, LA Super Shows, if you remember them times, those were the shit. But yeah, so, you know, growing up, I remember just... Pops was just rapping, doing his thing, and, you know, I got pictures, man. I'll show them right here in the clip, you know. Pictures when I'm a baby with my pops, and, you know, he'd be giving me the mic. I'd be sitting there trying to rap, you know, not rap, but I'm a little baby. I'm just sitting there making noises, and Pops is right there probably instructing me what to do and shit, so... Yeah, man, I got pics like that where me and Pops would just, you know, that's what he would just do when I was growing up. And then, you know, growing up, he would always sing and doing shit like that. So I used to be infatuated with the whole rap stuff and singing and all that as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I liked it, but I was really inside about that. I didn't really, like, show that. I was like a shy kid growing up, you know, I didn't really talk a lot and shit. So, I mean, if I knew you and we was cool, then yeah, I wouldn't shut the fuck up. But I mean, growing up, I just wasn't that outspoken person like my pops was. My pops was get on the mic and, you know, you give him a time to shine, that was gonna shine the whole motherfucking room up, you know, and make his presence known. And you'll like the dude, you know what I mean? You'll be one of his best homies. You'll be coming over every weekend, enjoying mom's breakfast and record playing and, you know, singing. He'd throw a whole show for you and shit. Pizza Pots, man, but, you know, he'd throw a whole show for you, and everybody would just want to come and bring their friends, and, you know, so... yeah, that's what it was growing up. I could get way more deep into it, but that's how my love for like the whole rap shit. I used to see how my pops would do that shit and entertain people, and people would just like him for that. And I was like, yeah, I like that, and I knew I had that shit in me too. If not 20 times better, I do got it 20 times better. No disrespect to pops, but I've known because the times I have let it shown in the little spotlight that I might have had at that moment, I rock a movement, you know what I mean? I see people get crazy, and I remember a couple of times doing freestyle battles in high school, and I was at the homie Brady's house, and shout out to the homie Brady, and he had a big old party in the backyard one time, and there was all kinds of people, and this dude was rapping and shit. Long story short, everyone was telling me, hey, go over there, bus. Everybody knows that you rap, but there's all these people freestyling in the back, and you're over here just chilling. And really what I was doing was just spectating the whole time. I'm just watching the whole shit go down, saying who's the best one here. So just in case, I already know people are going to hit me up, telling me to go over there and spit. I want to know who my best competition is in this motherfucker. So I'll be looking around, seeing who's probably the best one. I seen this at mediocre. I already knew right away that I was going to fucking kill it. But that was just the opportunity strike. I would never want to do it, you know what I mean? Because again, I told you I was shy at that time. I didn't like to step out like that. You know what I mean? So, but I knew I wasn't going to back down if I got thrown in front of everybody. Was like, yo, bust it. So, yeah, sure enough, that's what happened. Everybody was like, get in there. So I went in there and busted, fucking killed the whole shit. The whole fucking crowd in the back went crazy. I remember the homie, ran to the window, was, looking at me, and he, saw that what happened. He already knew. He just, looked at me and was, the homie Rob just killed it. So he just looked at me, shook his head, yeah. And I just, looked at him yeah, just the homie spaz. You can't disrespect, roll up on the spot and try to think you can bust freeze in the backyard and kill that shit. No, that was me, dog. That's what Big Rob D did. So I went up in that shit, killed that shit. And I just remember the reaction to the crowd, and it was off a weak-ass bar, too. You know what I mean? I said something about him looking like the guy from Harold and Kumar, because he was an Indian dude trying to rap. And the whole fucking place went nuts. But, yeah, that was just some high school freestyle spitting shit, in the backyard, battling type rapping. When that shit went down like that, I enjoyed that. I remember that feeling. So I was like, I always wanted to chase that feeling. And I remember that was in high school. But if I can rewind to you, in junior high school, I had this homie named Evan. Now, I've said this before in another podcast, but I get to shine a little bit more light on my boy, man. My boy Evan. Right now, he's doing big things in the art shit. And he's a man. I don't even know what category he considers himself in, but to me, he's a motherfucking street artist, you know what I mean? Because in junior high, growing up, the homie used to graffiti. Only white boy in the motherfucking city that I knew, a Jewish dude, that, he could skate. The homie was a skater, homie was a surfer. He was one of them kids, he could do that, whatever the fuck you get him in a sport. This fool played basketball, and he chucking the ball half court, banking it in. And I'd be like, God damn, there's nothing this motherfucker can't do. But, yeah, the homie Evan, dog, this motherfucker was crazy, you know what I mean? He used to fucking be able to fucking graph, do some graffiti, and that's what we used to do back in the day in junior high. I gravitated to the graffiti scene, you know what I mean? We had moved to another city that wasn't as, I'm not trying to, no disrespect to the city, but it was a different spot, different place from the valley where I was living at growing as a little kid. So it was we moved to another city that wasn't so active like that. So you couldn't really be in no gangs and shit like that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just kind of gravitated more to the graffiti side and football and shit, and my boy was all into that. And I was like, how the fuck does this fool know about graffiti? But this fool was crazy with it. And we had our own little crews back in the day. OTK, Out to Crush, O2K or OTK, you know what I mean? But yeah, Out to Crush, my boy Zote used to get it in. I think he went by Annex Zote. He was one of them homies that had a different name every week, you know what I mean? Because he used to just love doing the letters, and this fool was ridiculous with that shit. But he was always good with art and all that other bullshit too. You know what I mean? This motherfucker was really, really dope. If you guys want to check him out, I believe his website is awonderfulmistake.com. And that's the homie right there, Evan Mendel. But yeah, dog, this motherfucker, he used to rap. And I remember one day we was in junior high and we were, I was spitting the Eminem, The Way I Am verse. And that fool, we used to always go back and forth singing Eminem's part to each other. And I was like, oh, the homie can rap, you know. But then he told me one day, like, I could bust too, you know what I mean? Freestyles and shit. And I was like, what? And then he would kick some stuff to me, but he was shy too, dog. I know, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. Because there was motherfuckers that weren't shy, and they was whack as fuck. Whack as fuck. You know what I mean? You were like, damn, these motherfuckers need to be shy. Yeah, we were just like low-key about that shit. And I remember we went to a hip-hop show in Hollywood. I think we were in like 7th grade or 8th grade. We went to a show for a group called the Typical Cats. I was real big in the hip-hop shit and underground shit, you know, and graffiti. Though, if you a hip-hop head or you dig graph, you know what's up. You know what I mean? If you know, you know. That's on some real shit. You know what I mean? That was just the whole graffiti scene. You knew all the underground hip-hops and Typical Cats. They were a group from the Chicago. So these were just some random fools coming to North Hollywood. And if you were there at that show, you had to know what's up. But this wasn't your, you know, kind of crew that you heard everywhere, you know, like Beat Nuts or some shit like that. You know, this was just like, even Visionaries back then was like a new crew coming out, you know what I mean? But you heard about things somewhat. You know, if you was LA native, you knew who Visionaries were. You knew someone in it, you know what I mean? But Typical Cats, like, they're way out, Midwest, Chicago. And I remember the homie who introduced me into him, he was just a punk rock fool. And he's like, you ever heard of these fools? And I remember I was bumping it one day at school, and the homie was like, oh, what kind of music you be listening to? And I told him, I was like, you ever heard of a group called Typical Cats? He's like, what? You that fool Quell? Like, I was like, oh, what? And Quell was just a motherfucker like him, you know, a white guy in a rap group who fucking was just busting. When he would start rapping, he was crazy, and he was all about the graffiti shit, you know, all about graffiti. He used to rap about, he has a big song called Manhattan Project, and it's all about spray painting and graffiti and shit. Well, anyways, yes, you know, so, yeah, the homie Evan, dog, you know, that's the homie right there, bro. Like, I grew up with this hip-hop rapping and spitting freestyles back and forth and graffiti and all that shit, dog. He was a real big part of, dog, and why I do music today, you know what I mean? The homie Evan Mendelsohn, man, that motherfucker, he's still doing this shit. You guys got to check his out. I'm going to put the Instagram right here, and so you guys can check out his shit and his website as well. You guys can go over there and check out his artwork, man. This guy be doing crazy shit now, man. But a lot of people don't know this shit. You know, the real ones from back in the day that went to school with us and shit, if y'all in this shit and you've seen this video, please comment in the motherfucking comments. Tell me you remember that shit. Talk about that shit, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, we go way back, and the homie was a part of that shit from the very, very, very beginning. And that's what's up, man. He's still doing his shit just like I'm still doing my shit. He's still more in the art shit, but, you know, I'm in the mic. So, you know, I'm holding it down for him, and he's holding it down for me, because I wasn't as good as him with the art shit. I can get down, but this motherfucker's on another level. But, yeah, dog, so, you know, he was in the beginning, and he was there when we started recording as well. Then we go into 9th grade, high school, you know, and I was playing football at the time. You know, so I got lost in that little era of, like, just listening to, like, a lot of West Coast music, because my brother's homie, you know, he used to get a lot of the fucking songs before they would come out. He was one of them crazy motherfuckers that had all that music on the internet and shit. And I just got real heavy into that because I was playing football at that time, you know what I mean? Took up a lot of my time, you know, the rap shit, I was still doing it. Everyone knew me for it, you know what I mean? But it was just like, you know, those years that I was like taking that shit serious. And then, and yeah, and I'm thinking about like in the 11th grade, I was starting to fuck up in the grades and shit. And so I had to fucking like, you know, they were on my ass with my grades. And I remember the homie, not to put him on blast, but his grades weren't so great either. So they had at some point, they brought me in the office and they're like, yo, check it. We think you should go to this other school. We think you go and pick up the credits, you know, go over there and focus more on your art, your work and shit. And do your thing, bring your grades back up, get your credits back up, then you can come back your senior year, play ball, and then, you know what I mean, get your graduation, all that shit, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I already knew what was going to happen when I got home because Pops was not a big fan of that school already. You know, my brother went there, and, yeah, it just had a bad rep, kind of, but I thought it was a cool ass school, but you know what I mean, whatever. Pops didn't like the school, and it was a continuation school. So I was just like, all right, well, fuck, I already know how this is going to go down. So they ended up telling me I'm going to go to continuation. So I'm like, fuck, I'm like kind of keeping it to myself. I didn't really want to say anything to anybody else. I was like, damn, I guess I'm getting kicked out of regular high school, going to other, I'm not really getting kicked, well, yeah, kind of. So I'm like, fuck it. So I'm in class, and then I see the homie Evan over there, and I can tell something was up, but not really. And I was just like, hey, what's up, dog? He's like, I'm not gonna be here too much long after. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna start in the new semester. I'm gonna start at Apollo. And he like gave me like a smile and looked at me like, damn, you know, they didn't send me to Apollo. And I was like, what? You too? And he's like, where you going? I'm like, yeah, dog, I'm going to Apollo too, my boy. He was just like, oh, hell yeah. He's like, tight. So instantly from right there, man, I remember we were just like, because we were both going, we had chopped it up, and yeah, we just started going to school. We would get rides. His mom, shout out to his mom, dude. She would pick me up, and then we would go to school, and she'd give me a ride back home. And we would go to school together and shit. And Apollo was dope, man. Sometimes, man, that shit, that was a dope ass school to go to. I mean, I had a dope ass time there. I remember the homie was just, we were just chilling. Well, I remember we were at school one day and he started busting a freestyle, and that was the first time he really kicked the 16 to me, and I beatboxed. You know, I did a little beatbox. People used to know me back in the day for beatboxing and shit, and I kicked a little beatbox in him, and that fool came out with me with a 16, and I was like, what? Fool, I didn't know you could rap like that. He's like, well, yeah, I told you I was the right shit. And so I was like, damn, fool, we should try to record some shit, fool. Check this. This is where everything starts to come in right here. In high school was a lot of the beginning shit, you know, with the rap shit. And there's so much in between that, man. But one of the first times I remember getting on the mic, first time I remember just recording anything like in front of people, it was at the homies pad, and it was crazy because I could not record with people in the room. You know what I mean? For some reason, I don't know, for some reason I just couldn't do it, you know? So people would have to like press record and walk out the room. I was just like too shy or stage fright. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't do it, man. And finally, but once they got out the room, I would just be able to bust flows all day, you know what I mean? And I'll go out the top too, and I'd kill it all the time. And I wouldn't fuck up. I remember I would just spit like a full-on 16, sometimes even longer, and just wouldn't fuck up once. And then people would come back and be like, damn, you know, whatever. But yeah, that was one of the first times I was there, and the homie, I was gonna be like, dog, I can't, for some reason, I feel like I'm like choking, man. I feel like I can't do my shit, dog. Like, so he'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna press record and walk out and do your thing. So that's what he did. He pressed record, walked out, started listening, boom, and he started rapping, doing my shit. And I killed it. And I remember they're like, damn, dog, you know. So it was like, I remember it was dope, you know. That was the first time I fucking recorded. And then I remember I heard myself back, and the homie was just fucking around with, you know, doing what his little mix or whatever the fuck. And it was dope. I remember the next day we went to school, he was showing everybody the little freestyle I did, you know, and everybody was like, oh, damn. I had people coming up to me at school like, hey, dog, I heard that shit. The homie showed me last period. He said, that was you, fool, like that. That's crazy. And I was tight. That feeling to know, like, you know, people were like hearing my shit and telling me, yo, that was like one of the first times I put anything out like that, you know what I mean? I have many stories of where I was busting flows on this or video or other shit, but as far as like getting something recorded and it getting thrown around to where people are actually hearing it and shit, you know, that was one of the first realest, you know what I mean? Like, I had other like moments and shit, but that was one of the first times where, you know, I remember like, damn, any type of like recording with another person, like groups, like, you know, recording like hip hop group or at a studio or at somebody's pad, and then it get playing out, you know, in the public, and then people coming up to you and noticing you for that shit. That was dope, you know what I mean? That was sick. So I remember after getting that feedback from the people, you know, I would just get more and more into it, and before you know it, you know, it was steps and steps and steps before I would have liked to write with people, and then it got to the point where it didn't matter if I wrote in front of people, because I would think that I would like freeze up, but now once I started getting through it, I just get up in the motherfucker and I can just do my thing, you know? Especially, like, I don't really care to have a lot of people in the studio when I spit. I like to get in there and do what I gotta do and vibe out with whoever's there, you know what I mean? I like that type of shit, so I don't like too much shit going on in the studio, but yeah, man, one of the first times, man, I was a real shy person. I couldn't bust in the booth. I couldn't go in the booth and do my thing, and people being in there, like, I would freeze up, you know what I mean? I don't know why, it just would happen. I just wasn't used to that. I didn't have that bone that my dad did, you know. He was able to fucking, you know, go and do all kinds of shit, you know what I mean? And do a whole fucking, he had no stage fright in him at all. So, he would say, well, he was able to do that shit and I couldn't for some reason. But, you know, I worked towards that, and before you know it, now I have no problem going in there and being able to do that. You have to, especially if you're going to do music, videos, and any type of podcast or anything like that. You gotta be able to know how to fucking get up on a mic in front of people, or, you know, I ain't even gonna lie, I still get them gut feelings today, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's just something that comes with the territory, man. You know, once you get over it, you get over it. You know what I mean? To me, it's just once I get that hump, boom, I get over that hump, it's over. So yeah, so one of the first times I remember getting up in the booth and doing my thing, or getting up in the mic, and, you know, there's countless stories after that where I just fucking ended up killing shit, you know what I mean? But from fucking rapping at home in the mirror, nobody home, playing Tupac Dear Mama, and then rapping over his lyrics and trying to record that on the karaoke machine that my grandma got my pops, to recording shit on a little tape recorder and my pops catching it and me getting in trouble, to fucking writing my raps and spitting them in class, and rewriting other songs with my lyrics in them and spitting them to other people, to fucking meeting a homie, spitting with him and doing our own little raps, creating a group and all that shit, to doing mixtapes, EPs, and all kinds of shit till now, dude. You know what I mean? It's been a mission. It's been a motherfucking marathon for sure. It's been just a one long road of just rap shit. You know, that's why it's like the money shit and all that, you know. Of course, I would love to fucking make bank on my shit, but it's more than the money now, man. This music shit's been in my motherfucking shit since I was a kid, you know, and you know, I believe my pops instilled that shit in me, and he put that in me. My dad was real big on music, and I grew up listening to all the old school funk, all the fucking oldies and West Coast rap, beginning of the West Coast rap. I remember Kid Frost, I remember Lighter Shade of Brown, all that shit. My pops used to play all that shit, man, and growing up, you know, that was Chicano rap to me back in the day, but it wasn't even, like a lot of people say, that the Chicano rap wasn't even the title back then, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just remember fucking growing up with Pops and playing all that shit, and we would play all the West Coast Ice Cube shit, and play all the jams, man. If you know what's up growing up in that era, you knew that shit. Even I Need Love by LL Cool J, you know what I mean? We wasn't bumping no Vanilla Ice, but we was bumping, you know, Ice Cube and even the early Snoop Dogg shit, Tupac, you know, but I'm talking like 92, 93, that era type shit. I don't even know where I was getting at with all that, you know what I mean? I done fucking drifted off into another domain. But, you know, there's the breakdown for that shit, you know what I mean? So, first time I was in the booth, first time I recorded, first time I got on the mic and did some shit, first time I fucking got any kind of recognition on a rap, something I recorded, put out in public. That's what it was, man. If you guys stayed and listened to this whole thing, man, then thanks. Appreciate it. Much love. Share, like, comment. If y'all people from back in the day remember that shit and you watch this shit, comment, show love. Show the people that, you know, this shit is all facts, man. We ain't lying around here. So, man, shout out to everybody. You know what it is. Y'all want the LOS gear, man? Holla at your boy. Get at me in a DM. I got it all day. Shout out to the motherfucking Clippers, baby. We're in the playoffs. You know, it's been a journey too. So, you know, let's get past Denver and let's see what's next for us. But you know, shout out to the Clip Show. Shout out to LOS. You know what it is, man. We out this motherfucker. Shout out to the homie Evan, dog. You know what's cracking. Nothing but love and respect and blessings your way, my G. And shout out to everyone else I got music coming out with and the music I'm about to be dropping soon. My homie Rico Stamps. You know what it is. We got a track dropping. Sky Talk. Get ready for that shit. We out this motherfucker. West.